welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is a little surprise midweek video before I go back to work tomorrow. And it's not one that I usually do, but this is my TBR for January 2025. I don't usually create monthly TBRs. I'm too much of a mood reader for that. But it's the start of the year. It's a whole bunch of new goals, which I will go into in my goal video. But one of the things, as usual, that I want to do is try and read some of the actual physical books I own. And I'm on a little bit of a roll with that at the moment, so I want to keep the momentum going. Therefore, I created myself a little TBR for the month. It's not everything I'm going to read in the month at all. It was mostly, I was sitting there and going, okay, there was a bunch of books I took with me to Tasmania that I didn't get around to reading. So those went on. There are a couple other things that were in process. And then I looked at my Goodreads currently reading shelf, which has got a whole bunch of stuff I haven't looked at in a while. And I went, I should probably pick a couple of those to try and get some progress on as well. So there are, I think, seven things on this TBR. One I have already finished, so I will start with that. Because I did actually make this TBR at the start of the month. So I have finished one book, and that is Of Knives and Night Blooms by Tansy Rain Roberts. I took this with me to Tasmania. I started reading it down there. It's only arrived recently. This is one of the novels that Tansy published in 2023 that I somehow missed entirely, and then ordered a copy along with my Teacup Magic Kickstarter rewards. So I've already finished that, so you'll see that again in my wrap up, but that was on my TBR. The other one that I have already started because I wanted to keep my momentum going, it's also a physical book, and that is, actually there's two more that I've started. So that is At the End of the River Styx. So this is a very recent Outcrate book. It's YA, I believe it's queer. Seems so far, I'm not very far, I'm only about 30 odd pages in. Seems so far quite dark. It's based in sort of Greek mythology, aka the River Styx, and the souls of the dead traversing the River Styx. And essentially we've got two characters, one who nearly 500 years ago essentially made a deal with the ferryman to save his mother's life, but in return he has to spend 500 years ferrying the souls to the ferryman. And then you've got a modern day kid, 499 years later, who was, as far as I can figure out, was in a car accident which killed his mother and didn't kill him, but he's been dreaming of the River Styx ever since. So, and it's causing him issues. So yeah, interesting. I'm not sure how much is going to be my thing because it does feel very depressive and dark so far, but I am only about 30 pages in, so that I am currently reading. I am also currently reading, and I added this because it's the next one in the series that I'm already reading, On Red Station Drifting by Aliette Boddard, which is a novella as part of the Zoo universe, which I could have sworn I had read. It won the Hugo Award in 2013, which was A, the year I started reading for the Hugo Award, and B, the year I started Goodreads, and yet Goodreads says I've not read it. Despite the fact that it was a Hugo nomination that year, and I definitely read some of the Hugo. That was when I started reading for the Hugo Awards. So maybe this one's one I didn't get to, but I just heard a lot about it, because that was back when I was listening to Galactic Suburbia and the SF Squeakcast. So maybe through osmosis, I thought I'd read it. But I'm about a third of the way through it, I think. And it's not ringing any bells. So maybe I didn't read it. Anyway, it's the next one on the list for the Zoo universe. So that went on as an ebook on the list. Now, the other physical books that I included are A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. This is also an Outcrate book. And if I remember correctly, it's a, I can't quite remember what it's about, but I believe it's got a queer relationship. It's sort of like a dark academia story, I believe, which I haven't read a lot of dark academia, so we'll see. But this is one of the ones that I took to to Tasmania and didn't get around to reading, so that's on the list of things to read this month. I also have this. I may not finish, but I want to at least start. And this is the book that my youngest brother gave me for Christmas. It's called Whipping Girl, A Transsexual Woman on Sexism and the Scapegoating of Femininity by Julia Serrano. When I sort of looked at the cover, I went, sounds like it's up my alley, but not loving the use of the word transsexual. But when I actually looked at the date it was published, it was originally published in like 2007 and has recently been updated in more recent years with like a new foreword and stuff. So I'm guessing that when the author wrote this book, that was the terminology of how she identified. So yeah, I'm assuming that's the reasoning behind it, but it sounds interesting. And it's definitely up my alley in terms of topics. I think it's a collection of essays. And apparently named one of the 100 best nonfiction books of all time by Ms. Magazine. There you go. But yeah, it's apparently a landmark of trans and feminist nonfiction. Cool. Awesome. Like I said, because it's nonfiction, I'm not sure I'll get it read within this month, but I do want to start it. Then the other books on my TBR are a couple that I grabbed off my currently reading pile on Goodreads that I haven't picked up in a while, and I really should get around to trying to finish. So I Shall Wear Midnight by Terry Pratchett. This is, if I remember correctly, this is one of the Tiffany Aching books. And I believe I started it, got to a bit that was uncomfortable, put it down, and just never went back to it. So I need to actually finish that. I think usually I buy the Tiffany Aching books in hard copy, but I think maybe this one is an ebook. I'll need to double check. I couldn't find it in my pile of physical books. So there's that. And I also added, and again, this one is nonfiction, so I may not get it finished this month, but I would like to at least make progress. And that is Decolonizing Methodologies by Linda Tuai Smith. So this is, a few years ago, my brother gave me sort of the sequel to this academic text. It was a bunch of Indigenous researchers responding to the original text. But once I realised that after starting the first part of that book, I realised that I needed to actually read the first text if I had any hope of understanding what they were on about. So I have started it. I have, in fact, at one stage a couple of years ago, I think I used part of it in one of my essays for uni. But it is an academic text, and as university took up my attention, I wasn't really paying attention to academic texts that weren't what I needed for uni. So it's been sitting there about, I think maybe 35% read, something like that. So I would like to try and make some progress on that. But that is essentially my TBR that I wish to attempt this month. Like I said, I finished one and started at least two more, and two of them are already partly started anyway. So that's pretty good. There will be more books that aren't on that TBR that I read. I mean, there's already at least one, possibly two, at least one Austen variation that I picked up. So, you know, because it's me. But yes, that is my potential TBR for January. I guess we'll see at the end of the month how many of them I've actually read. As usual, happy to talk books in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again really soon. Bye.